Well, thanks very much for joining us tonight for another Tech Talk. And tonight we're going to talk to Vortex Power Systems and particularly Perzaan Mehta, who's the CEO of Vortex Power Systems. Now, I just want to tell you a little bit about this before we get started. So it's a revolutionary technology that is converting low-grade waste heat into clean energy or clean electricity. And this groundbreaking technology was conceived and developed resulting really from research undertaken by professors at the University of Auckland investigating, and this is amazing, how dust devils and other vortexes form in nature. So after analysing data from a previous NASA experiment, it was determined that if the right set of conditions are provided, this phenomena can be recreated. And from this, Vortex Power Systems was born. So thanks very much for being with us tonight, Perzaan.
Thank you very much for having me.
Great. Well, Perzaan, you're the CEO of Vortex Power Systems. And can you please start off with a little bit of background on yourself?
Yeah, sure. So I guess I'm an engineer at heart with an interest in finance and economics. And that sort of translated to the path I went down at university. Having left that, I decided, what really interested me was working on groundbreaking technology that was at the frontier of what we were seeing. And so through that journey, that took me into working in the early stage venture capital and private equity space, as well as working operationally in deep tech and engineering-based startups as well. So that was what I did prior to coming across Vortex. And just really being enamored with the elegance of the idea and what it could possibly achieve. And so then just before the pandemic, I jumped in, and 3 years later, here we are.
I mean, this concept about taking low-grade waste and turning it into clean electricity, you just briefly sort of mentioned that you did that, but where does the concept originally come from?
So this idea, as you mentioned earlier, came about from one of our CTO, Neil Hawkes, was actually servicing his gyrocopter across a field in Matamata, and he saw a dust devil form. And as that formed, he sort of asked himself, gee, I wonder how much energy and power that has. And so that actually led him to go back to university and work with our other technical co-founder, Professor Richard Flay, to understand thermodynamically what is going on in these structures. And through that research, it came to be that actually if you can create the right conditions for one of these to form in a safe and controllable way. And actually one of the things you could use to power that is waste heat. And so to the team, it sort of seemed like a no-brainer that actually what we can do is take one of the world's largest and most abundant waste resources and convert it into something that can provide benefit for everyone.
So when you said Matamata, that's my hometown. So I was thinking of the Wahara, of the aerodrome at Wahara, and it's probably where it was.
Exactly.
So tell me, how many have you got working in the Vortex Power Systems team?
So we've got about 5 people who are actively working in the team as part of Vortex. But as a small company, we tend to sort of silo our bits and pieces and get external help in as well. So overall, we've probably got about 20 people working on this project at the moment. Right. But internally, it's just the 5 of us who are keeping everything going.
And you're still based in Newmarket, are you? In the with the university, or?
Well, the University of Auckland's where our lab is,
Yes.
But we are actually building our first full-scale facility out in Tairāwhiti, and the first bit of construction is beginning over there.
At the Gisborne area. Now, I think you told me about that when I visited you. So
That's right.
We're hopeful of something happening. So it's great to hear. So let's go back to this technology. So exactly how does it work without giving away secrets?
Sure. So what we do is we use that hot water, which is the waste heat that you normally send to the cooling tower in a large industrial plant, and we spray it in the center of our Vortex station. And doing so has this effect of creating a a very humid hotspot locally, and that causes the air that we've just heated to rise very fast and create a vacuum. So all we're doing is creating a little pressure difference, and that pressure difference sucks in the surrounding air, which, as it's being drawn in, we have yacht sail like veins that sort of give it some spin as it comes in. And so what you have in the middle is a rising and rotating column of air, i.e. a vortex, which can go up to 5 kilometers tall. And then the taller the better. The taller it is, the faster the wind speeds are. And then we have a turbine at the bottom as the airflow is coming in to extract energy and convert that into clean electricity.
So it's a controlled tornado.
It's not a tornado. Absolutely different from a tornado. I think it's a very good point. I mean, everyone, the notion is that we're creating a tornado, but actually what we're creating is more like a water spout, and more differently, it's a water spout that's constrained to where we're spraying the heat. If we take away the heat, it stops working.
So we've seen them obviously in nature and documentaries, and essentially that's it. So you're using the pressure of air and the water to create this energy, which you then harness.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah, using nature to help us.
Well, that's right. I mean, a vortex is a natural heat engine, and so it's the best way you can have to convert heat into wind, which is usable for us.
So you've got you certainly had a proprietary testing rig at the University of Auckland to prove the physics that underpin the technology. Is that something you could speak to us about?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was the first part of the journey of Vortex Power Systems, was being able to, it was built around a novel theory that came out of the research of Dr. Neil Hawkes and Professor Flay. And so that testing rig that we built allowed us to prove the fundamental physics behind the innovation and show that it worked the way we believed it did. And also then allowed us to create data that we could then build models around and then validate those models against other data in nature. So that allowed us to really understand what was going on at the fundamental level, scale that up to full size, and then know how to design a full-scale plant like we have.
So that leads us on very well into what stage you are in terms of the research and development, or R&D, and getting into electricity generating plant for commercial use. So tell us about where you're at with that in the Tairāwhiti program.
Absolutely. So we're now in the process of building our first full-scale pilot plant. This is going to be a plant that should be able to produce a full-scale vortex and be able to generate kilowatts of hundreds of kilowatts of energy. And so we're really excited that we'll be able to, create and showcase this technology in a safe and controlled way. And of course, we'll be able to run it across a range of different weather conditions so that we can showcase how the technology works across the year. And we're hopeful that being able to get to that proof point will then enable us to take the conversations we're having with corporates further around actually getting one deployed as soon as possible.
Well, this is very exciting news that you're at that stage. Now, how long has Vortex actually been in existence as a company?
The company was formed back in 2017 as in its earliest infancy. So this has been going for a while, but it was the last sort of from 2020, once we'd got that proof point in the lab, that things really started kicking off in full gear for us.
I love this. This is overnight success in 6 years. And this is what happens, though. It takes a long time. And obviously the whole COVID lockdown, things didn't help either, but that's just the beast. So when we look at the vision that you have, you and the team at Vortex Power Systems, do you envisage this technology as an add-on to all the existing energy on-site infrastructures, such as geothermal power stations and waste treatment plants in New Zealand?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I think anywhere where there is large, abundant bits of hot water that's being sent to a cooling tower is somewhere that we believe we can put a Vortex station. We're probably not going to put it anywhere near Auckland or Wellington, so people don't need to panic. Certainly not downtown, at least. But for the more remote factories that are sort of a little bit away, those are the places, and that's where all the real industry is. It is in the regions, it is in the rural areas, and so that's where actually we think we'll be able to deploy our technology and be able to add some value by creating more clean electricity for the grid.
And also, I guess that many businesses, or not many, those businesses where this really makes sense, where they're using large amounts of electricity or some other heating system, and they end up with this waste asset, essentially, that you could make use of. This is a real opportunity for them to be able to power themselves, their own businesses, as well as you say, to add to the national grid and get paid for it.
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, I think it also means we can help with their cooling problem, because not only do we create electricity, we also cool the water for them as well. And that's actually a huge constraint in a lot of places where we're moving towards being more environmentally conscious, and we're conscious about what we're putting back into our waterways and our rivers. And so dumping hot water is the last thing anyone wants to do. So we can help on that side as well.
I don't know if you've thought about this yet, but it's sort of come to me as we've been talking, is that the opportunities around some of the geothermal heat providers and electricity providers in the central North Island and Northland, that there might well be opportunities there for them as well, in terms of, because they often have to cool down water that they're taking from the geothermal system.
Yes, absolutely. I think our technology would most definitely be able to work with the geothermal system. There's probably a little bit of pre-processing that needs to be done, because there's a challenge around the silica and how low you can drop the temperature. But it is something we have looked at exploring, and one that we hopefully do intend to take further as our technology matures.
Well, I can tell you, on one of our previous tech talks, we've talked to a couple of scientists, or one of the scientists from Victoria University, who's been working very hard around the silica issues on geothermal. So I think we could put you together offline, and you might find that there's some real advantages there as well.
I have no doubt that'll be excellent.
Yeah, so this is great. And so, what do you think we could be doing better? And because I think it's great when you look at what you're doing here in New Zealand, but we need to be able to export this technology to the world as well, so you can go global. Are there any work going on there, or are we still in the proving ground?
No, absolutely. I think for us, we filed our IP globally, and it's actually been granted in some key markets like the US and China, as well as South Korea. So we've actually made very good progress, and are continue to making progress in lots of other of our key markets overseas in terms of getting IP protection. The idea, as you say, is to prove it in New Zealand, and then look to keep the R&D over here, but work to export or license the technology overseas.
Well, this is not going to be cheap technology. I mean, it takes a lot of work from a lot of people like yourself, Perzaan, and over 6-7 years. And this is a sort of technology that does have opportunities, I think, for the whole world. But you're going to need to go global, and I just really wish you the very, very best. And good luck with the plant in the Gisborne Tairāwhiti region. And hopefully, it is such a success that opportunities come knocking on your door.
Thank you very much. We certainly hope so.
Yes, well, I'm thinking there's loads of opportunities here. And once you've got that underway, I think there'll be plenty. So thank you very much. And just let us know how you're going. We'll talk to you again sometime once everything starts operating, because I would love to see it. Having seen it in the lab already, I just described people like it was a mini tornado that's controlled, but I really should have been saying a vortex. And a water spout, which people would also understand. So thanks very much for tonight. Is there anything else that you want to add, Perzaan?
No, thank you very much for having me. It was a pleasure to be here.
No, thank you. Okay, good night and all the very best. We want to hear about progress.
Absolutely.